It's 6 o'clock on Wednesday, the 23rd of October, 2019. Good evening and thank you for tuning in to the English edition of Aura News. My name is Oliver, bringing you the only daily update of the local Albanian news translated into English. Up first tonight, the Socialist Party has proposed amending 27 articles to the Electoral Code, including criminal penalties in cases of vote buying. The draft that is to be discussed on Thursday requires, among other things, that the Central Election Commission submit a statement signed by the chairman citing the commitment to refuse participation in vote buying practices. Article 78 also specifies that entities are subject to criminal liability if they offer or give money, material goods, promises for work, or other favors in any form, whether to support candidates with signatures or to vote. Regarding the debate on the inclusion of the administration in the campaign, it is foreseen that the use of human resources also includes a provision of benefits to public servants or students in participation in the electoral campaign activities outside of work hours or in classes. For this purpose, the public institutions must declare activities for the 6-month period prior to the election day until voting, while all public television is forbidden to promote them. There will also be bans placed on party funding in the campaign, and according to the Socialist Party, the entities in this case will not be able to benefit for up to 3 years after the elections for the public contracts, including PPP contracts worth over 10 million lek. Meanwhile, the parties have to make public every donation of over 30,000 lek to 100,000 lek as it was a year ago. In this case, even contributions to the candidates of the electoral subjects should be considered donations to parties. For the purposes of monitoring, subjects will have to declare their activities 48 hours ahead of schedule to allow for the engagement of observers. Changes have also been required in gender quotas, which are determined to be obligatory at all levels of the administration. In order to assist the investigations, if any, radios and television must retain broadcast material for at least 3 months after the end of voting. The CEC will be forced to set up a portal to await denunciations in case of code violations. Penalties to the parties which do not allow campaign monitoring range from 1 million to 5 million lek. It is noted in the draft of the Socialist Party that there is no article that fulfills one of the main recommendations of the OSCE so as to establish an independent election administration from political forces. The draft does not foresee any sanctions for breaking the ethics of political parties. And next up, the Democratic Party, in consultation with its allies, has for days been working on a platform for free and fair elections, including on electoral reform. Although it remains unclear where this document will be submitted, given that the majority is determined to organize the work only within the Special Reform Commission, which is illegal for the Democratic Party. But allies of Luzin Basha think differently, as they suggest that the opposition should participate in a meeting of electoral reform called to take place this Thursday. Dashmir Shehi says that the roadmap for the electoral reform process should not allow the OSCE recommendations, but also the 9 conditions of the German Bundestag. While the majority's idea that electoral reform should go through 2 phases, the Republican Party chair, Fatmir Mediu, calls it nonsense. But beyond all the calls of its allies, the Democratic Party remains firmly in its position. The Democratic Party and the opposition remain in the public position announced at a table organized by the OSCE. We are ready to contribute to electoral reform in a transparent, inclusive, and fully equitable way with the other party. This is not guaranteed by the illegitimate Electoral Reform Commission, said Fatmir Mediu. Moving on now, following 3 requests to the prosecution for the investigation of the 3 socialist mayors, Valdrin Pietri, Agim Kaimaku, and Mark Babani, the Democratic Party has issued another request to the investigative body. In the request signed by the General Secretary, Gazmend Bardi, which is also known among the main embassies in Tirana and the High Council of the prosecution, the Democratic Party accuses the prosecution of defending the 3 criminals under Rama in the municipality. Although about 2 months have passed since the filing of these claims, the General Prosecution, which is responsible for law enforcement, has not completed any verification procedures. This behavior of the prosecution raises reasonable doubts about the state's attempt to protect incriminated individuals who have, with the support of the ruling party, usurped public office in flagrant violation of the decriminalization law. The Democratic Party noted that starting on August 1st, the DP has presented authentic evidence that Edi Rama's candidate in the municipality of Shkodër, Valdrin Pietri, in the municipality of Vora, Agim Kaimaku, and in the municipality of Vaiudeas, Mark Babani, have criminal records and as such must be removed and prosecuted for falsifying on the decriminalization form. Punishing these senior officials is one of the 9 conditions set by the German Bundestag, for the launch of Albania's EU accession talks. As a consequence, incumbent prosecutors, despite being led by an illegal and indecent and irresponsible official such as Arta Marku, have an obligation not to be subject to Edi Rama's political orders and pressure and to fulfill their constitutional and legal duties responsibly. Based on the allegations filed, the Democratic Party's requests of information for the prosecution on all the procedures followed by the prosecution body, together with the complete documentation contained in each file, compiled or administered by the prosecution body from the moment requests for verification are issued until the present day. Moving on now, flu vaccinations will begin in early November. The Institute of Public Health has provided 80,000 doses, 30,000 more than just a year ago, and so far, due to the good weather, there have been no cases of the flu, but only the circulation of viruses. The head of the Department of Infectious Diseases at the Public Health Institution, Silva Bino, advises individuals over 60 to get vaccinated, including those with chronic illnesses, children, and pregnant women. For these categories, the vaccine will be provided free of charge. The flu can only be prevented through vaccine, so the director of the Office of the World Health Organization in Tirana, Raul Gonzalez Montero, recommends avoiding the use of antibiotics. Last year, at least 3 people died in Albania due to the AH1N1 virus. Flu vaccines are due to arrive in Albania at the end of October and have been passed through the filters of the World Health Organization. Next up tonight, Prime Minister Edi Rama brought to light an episode with one of the top European officials to show that Albania is a safe country. The head of the government indicated that the European official refused to leave the airport without guards equipped with rifles. Meanwhile, the next morning, he had a conversation with her and asked her for an apology. The next morning, he came to see me, but the first sentence he said to me was, "I want to apologize sincerely because I have traveled to many places and never experienced a huge gap between what I expected and what I saw," said Rama. The Prime Minister was present at the meeting of over 100 national centers for personal data protection and privacy. Regarding the latter, he said there is still so much to be improved. We are here in Albania today to find ourselves at a completely different point in terms of personal data protection and privacy. Despite being in a completely different moment and moving towards something anyways, the place we live in today is still vulnerable. The Prime Minister also had an appeal for the foreigners present at this conference, stating, "When you are asked if you have ever been to Albania, you should tell them, I have seen things you would not believe." And finally tonight, Austria considers Europe, without the Balkans as an incomplete and regrets delaying negotiations between the European Union, Albania, and Northern Macedonia. From Shkodër, where he attended Austria's national holiday, the Chargé d'Affaires, which will be the new ambassador of the country in just a few days, Christian Steiner, reconfirmed his support for integration. The Austrian foreign minister was in Tirana and expressed support for the opening of unconditional negotiations with Albania and Northern Macedonia. Both countries have taken important steps towards integration, and we regret the delayed decision. Austria sincerely hopes for a positive change in the future. We believe Europe is incomplete so long as the Western Balkan countries are not part of the Union. The host of the celebration, the honorary consul George Leccia, thanked the Austrian state for the continuous support to Albania, where their presence is felt in some important areas of economic and social life. For many years, the Austrian holiday is celebrated in Shkodër as a historic bridge between the two countries. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you so much for watching our English edition this evening, and be sure to join us again every Monday to Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. Once again, on behalf of Aura News, thank you and have a good night.